several months after,
I thought it was pretty clear.
yeah, that,
Okay.
yeah, that.
I just got an email today to ask, so I
Oh, I mean, I think we would assume that both Trish and Peter would wanna come back if they could, but.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so you're not,
I'm not, I mean,
Sure.
5 years is a long
Okay.
time. We'll see.
Okay.
But I thought that discussion was had and that it was a definite.
yeah, I just got an email today about it asking, and I was like, I'm not sure.
I don't know, cause I just said it had been.
Right.
Decided, so.
Right, why
Then
would
it
you
was
say,
like-
right?
Well,
Love it.
Just put this back.
Yeah, say
So
that.
I didn't say how long to do, you know, I mean, particularly because this was before we came to town, but I went on at the beginning, right after the rule was set. And people had to step off, so I would feel that's the rule, you know, like, you know, people had a lot of, they had thoughts about that, so I would wanna follow the process, I don't wanna buck the process. But that's not to say that, you know, in a couple of months afterwards that I'm not like, okay, well, I missed going somewhere every,
Okay.
you know, second Wednesday of the month, and let's go.
It was something I was.
I'll do minutes, I don't mind.
Okay, yeah, so I'm,
I've
you
got it all
know,
set up, so.
I'm fine, like, I don't want to drive and force to stay.
Appreciate you showing up. I always forget to ask. No worries. Just
But if they came to a different decision and there was still spots, I might say, okay, you know, say you're on the, I'm on the fence, yeah, so I'm officially on the fence, does that
Okay.
work for you?
Yes, that's great, perfect.
Does that work for you? Yeah.
I'll even write that
So
on.
the big thing now,
Yeah.
we're.
No, you can write that, but I do want to, like, I'm not
I
pushing
think
the
around
right,
2003, and then
I
I added that
understand why they
Fox
can
Terrace
term
reservoir
it.
document in there.
What they were doing.
So just
What
kinda
they were
get an
trying
idea,
to
I try to put
accomplish.
in there.
With that, of course, you know, whenever there's open spots, you're like, oh, well, we should take people that would do it, you know, but then it's gonna be filled with people who then wouldn't. I think just everything, all day I was like, Bridget, get on, get on. I was like, you know, cause the
And now
weather
it's
was
warm
different.
outside.
Yeah, well, it was just like, cause the AC kept kicking on, it'd be too cold, that it'd be like, oh, now I'm warm again, you know.
Yeah.
Do we know if, Joel's making it?
I didn't hear from him that he wasn't. Tracy still
Out of town.
loved living the good life.
Galapagos, I guess.
She was in Peru last time I heard.
Okay, I heard Galapagos at one point.
Pretty close to the Galapagos there,
Maybe she's doing both.
Skipping, yeah.
That you wanna die.
I don't want to know.
We'll,
Sounds
we'll,
too
we'll
good.
add her.
Sail?
We'll add her vacation to the updates for next month. Yeah. All right. So let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. This is the Open Space Advisory Committee for the Town of Superior, April 11th, 2018. Let's just go ahead and do introductions. I'm Ken Lish, Committee Chair.
Sean Samuelson, member.
Ryan Welch, Vice Chair.
Tricia Dunham, member.
Allison James, staff.
Sandy Hammerly, trustee for Mark Lasis, who was unable to be here tonight.
All right. Sandy, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we'll start with public comment, by all means.
I'm William Anderson. I live at 1325 South Bureau Court here in Superior. On March 24th, I attended the Boulder County Bird Walk at the Hodgson Harris Reservoir. It was very well attended. It was very informative, and we got a chance to see some of the wildlife, the birds, get a description of some other wildlife that has been seen at the reservoir, and get a history of the reservoir. I'd like to ask the Open Space Advisory Committee to continue to pursue purchase of the property where the reservoir rests. If that's not possible, I was wondering if you could consider using some open space funds for maybe purchasing a buffer around the reservoir to limit or minimize or limit the encroachment onto the wildlife areas. So I'm not sure exactly how that works, but just wanted to voice my support of that purchase of the property, or at least some of it.
We appreciate that.
Thank you.
We can respond and give a little bit of background on it. I know
Okay.
that, and we appreciate you also coming to the board meeting, saying that in front of the Board of Trustees. That also goes a long way. Saying it in front of us helps, but in front of them helps even more. And Allison or Sandy, correct me if I'm wrong, but they're on that Harriers property. There is a application that's currently submitted. As such, the town can't offer to purchase any of it. It has to go through the full application process and come before the board. This group has certainly been strong proponents of basically everything that you just recommended, and we'll be watching it closely, and we'll make recommendations as the committee believes is proper. But we fully have agreed with everything you've said.
All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Have a good evening.
Okay. So the first item tonight is the 28 or the discussion of the basically just a debrief of the board meeting. One of the things that came out of that is that the trustees gave us the go-ahead that we can line up a presentation with the Trust for Public Land and start to work with them to see what they can offer to the community. But Trustee Hansen had requested that we update our work plan to reflect that. So I think that's, and we do have a kind of catch-all already on there. Continue to work with the town board and staff to acquire high-priority open space. Generally, I'd say that would probably work, but since it was specifically requested, we should probably just do it anyway.
So we want to just add add to the second quarter, like meet with the Trust for Public Land, like maybe just like keep that down there, and then in the second quarter just say schedule meeting with.
And
because we're in the second quarter now, so I would think second or third quarter.
And that
is
was-
what's gonna work for that.
that's what my thought was going to be. I think we're still just looking out for what our second quarter is going to look like. We are trying to coordinate with ProStack to see if we can do a joint meeting. So either April or May is probably going to be dedicated to a joint meeting. And
Maybe
then
May or June, because we're in April.
May or June. Thank you. It's been a long day.
I understand. I fully understand the long day.
Ryan and I have been exchanging emails with the ProStack chair. We haven't yet come to any conclusions, but that was the initial thought. So that leaves us one extra meeting for the quarter. I would say, to be on the safe side, we either put it in the third quarter, or we can even put it in ongoing, and we can just continue to fit it in throughout, because I have a feeling it's going to bleed over from one quarter to another anyway.
I mean, my suggestion is if we put it in a quarter, we should put language like start the process of meeting with and not say meet with.
So
'Cause we
maybe
know it's going to be
Kickoff meeting.
So maybe we put that in second quarter then, to start the process.
Yep,
I
I
don't know
agree.
if we'll be able to have the kickoff meeting, but we can contact him and get the ball rolling in the second quarter.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's because it's either we get him on our, whether it's May or June, we'd have to make sure, whatever day we're not meeting with ProStack.
Yeah.
Because my guess is Tracy is chomping at the bit to
Oh,
get
without
this
a
going.
doubt.
So as soon as she's
Oh,
back, my guess is she'll be starting on this.
I fully agree. All right, so let's definitely put something in the second quarter. The question is, how do we want to word it? Oh, come on.
Do we want to say something like, is it like schedule meeting, or, begin relationship with, or, thank you.
Thank you.
Good
Have a good
night.
night.
Initiate formal contact with
Yeah, I
There you
like
go.
that.
There's some
I
nice
like that.
the
language.
Trust for Public Land representative to begin discussions around.
I mean, it's really to learn more about the services they offer.
So initiate
And how
formal
they might be
contact.
able to help us.
with
Yeah,
the
I
Trust
like-
for Public Land and
You
Or
know,
like
it might-
regarding, or, go ahead.
No, I was thinking of something else.
we could just
that
say
you said.
initiate
Yeah.
work with.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, initiate working with,
So do we have?
to understand, well, maybe
I
that's
think
enough,
if
maybe
we
that's
just
enough.
say the Trust for
Short and
Public
sweet.
Land, yeah.
But maybe we should put more context just so the board remembers what
Okay,
this
to,
is, what this is about.
To discuss collaboration
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
opportunities, to discuss collaboration opportunities. And then if you want, you could put in funding, granting, you know,
How
whatever.
about to
in
explore?
Mhm.
Just
To
explore
that's
collaboration opportunities.
good. Yes. And my other thought was, is this might be something you still wanna bring up with the leadership of PROSAC, cause I don't know, they might wanna, not that it would be in the joint meeting with both groups, but they might wanna send someone, cause I don't know, and Tracy has a much better handle, but maybe they also assist in recreation type of things as well, so it might not just be,
Mhm.
acquiring open space, maybe it's, you know, they would help you build a bike park, or they would help you, you know,
Yeah.
so they might be interested in at least marking that date and coming if they're available, or,
Yeah, we had sent a.
or do something. I just don't know.
No, that's a good idea for sure. We had
Yeah.
sent the agenda that we had initially included in our work plan for what we would talk with ProStack about. We send over to Peter and Corey, so we can just add this as well as just a potential topic to discuss
Yeah.
with their
'Cause
group.
It might be like, oh, you could get $200,000 to build some, you know, something that gets people out walking, or.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
says great.
Though Allison knows a lot of these things.
It looks like it
She
covers
always
both
taps us
parks
in.
and,
That'd be awesome. So the only other question that I had for the group is.
Ken, one thing though,
Oh,
do you
yeah,
think
yeah,
we
yeah,
should
yeah.
say something around collaboration opportunities for acquiring open space? I mean, just to make it very specific what we're doing with them.
Since that was what we brought up to the board and was approved, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Okay,
Mhm.
thank you.
well, wouldn't it be for acquiring or creating easements or whatever? Because sometimes we're not gonna be able to just
No,
outright
you're right,
acquire.
you're right. Acquiring is the wrong word. On open space
Mhm.
preservation, maybe.
Yeah,
or-
I like that better.
For open space.
Open space preservation.
How's that look?
Mhm.
All right, and then the
Cool.
other,
Oh, yeah, no, I
I was
think I know
gonna-
where you're going next.
so the other two questions I was gonna ask is we had also heard, feedback that there was interest in having us do the, cleanup event
Mhm.
again, so I didn't know, I don't think we have. Yeah, we don't have anything about cleanup or dog waste, anything in this work plan. Should we, do we have the bandwidth to do that again? And B, should we add that to the work plan?
I mean, I think it was pretty strongly recommended that we
I-
keep it going and see what we can do to, and maybe we even,
I think we had more planning time last time, but maybe we didn't, but I would be leaning for something now in the fall.
Mhm.
But
I
I'm
agree.
saying that
Third
knowing I
quarter.
wouldn't be on the committee, but I'm just saying, but I'm thinking like.
Load it up.
You guys should do it for July.
Saturday, this coming Saturday is hazardous waste, then it's the Arbor Day, then it's gonna
Yeah.
be National
I-
Trails Day. Like, I mean, then you're like Mother's Day, National Trails Day, like. it's
Completely
like-
right.
Third quarter's lighter.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
and it wasn't that, I mean, it was getting some notices out. We can decide if we did deliver supplies, which wasn't hard, but they were pretty minimal. I
Exactly.
mean, we could even just have supplies, say, if you want supplies, pick them up here.
Yeah.
If
Which,
that would work.
which we gave people the option, either delivery or pickup. We had, I think, 2 people pick up, maybe a few more, I can't remember for sure. I think the delivery actually was good though, cause everybody said, yeah, bring it to my house. So
Mhm.
if we break down as many of the barriers to
Mhm.
participation as possible, there'll be more participation.
Yeah.
And since we split it up, between 3 of us dropping stuff off, we had to go to what, 5 houses each?
Oh, I had, 3 or 4.
Yeah.
It wasn't hard.
Yeah.
It was an awkward door knock.
So they realized why you were there. They're like, "Oh,
Exactly.
thank you.
We don't want anything. No, you asked me to come by.
One of the things the group might want to think about is, I set up the Boulder County Rangers for National Trails Day, and they were asking for, what do you want us to go over this year? And usually we do trail etiquette, and I did mention dog waste, and if we have supplies there, maybe they could hand them out there to
Yeah.
people at National Trails Day, and that
That's a
could be
great
one contact, and then maybe you could do the same type of thing later in the fall too, just as an idea.
No, I think that's a good idea, and I think we should push it. We can take our poster out again, like, I didn't mind telling people, at Arbor Day, like, well, please pick up after your dog, and remember, I still have that last box of
Mhm.
thingies. But I think, we can certainly keep mentioning it and passing at all our outreach stuff.
And I could ask them to hand out, if that's something that you guys are interested in, we can maybe grab the stuff, get the stuff and have it there for them, like little kits,
Yeah, no, I
Mhm.
think that would be great, and I think that also just keeps lending it to that this is a problem across it's not just our town, it's across the county, it's across the state, and
Yep.
People need to hear it because it's,
I guess that's a good question, though. Will it be dog focused or will it be just cleanup? Because I know that when I took my family out, we found one piece of dog waste, but we ended up with 2 trash bags full of trash.
Yeah.
I think it can be both. I think we can say, picking up dog waste, and when we've gone out with the Cub Scouts, it's been the same thing. It actually, like, certain areas seem to do, the people seem to do well on picking up after their dog, but then there's, trash.
Yep. And we
around.
kept it broad in our advertisements last
Yeah,
year.
I think we just
Yeah.
follow the same then.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
don't think it's that much work.
No,
actually.
No.
it's
And
not
it's
that
right,
tough.
and it's right in our
Mhm.
charter.
Cool.
Yeah.
So,
That's good.
I wish we didn't talk about a name and we got close and I had panicked and threw a name out there and called it the Grace Pier Cleanup. Do we want to keep it named that or do we want to switch it? I don't really. I'm not completely married to
Let's,
that. And I wish we would have talked about
Let's
it.
think about, I think we'd come up with a pretty clever name.
I
It could be
agree.
kind of fun.
Top
With-
dog.
Yeah, or something. I mean, with Superior, it's always fun with Superior.
Won an award.
So let's just say
You get a
conduct
pepper scoop.
town cleanup event.
Yeah.
Okay. And then
And
the.
you could put and outreach too, because if we do the Rangers, then.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then the only other thing that was also discussed, was we got the thumbs up to try to set parameters around what we were thinking for a naming project for
Mhm.
parks, I guess it was more open space and trails.
Mhm.
Did we want to throw that into the third quarter as well? So I don't think we have.
I would say start planning it
Yeah.
there, because that's another one, because we also know the trails will go across both committees, so you guys can do that in your leadership meeting and then come up with if you assign someone from each committee to talk about it or think about wayfinding or naming.
There's also like a whole naming process that's been done in the past for parks. So,
Like the public outreach and everything?
there's a whole like framework already,
Yeah.
and if the group would be interested in.
And we may want to look at what Louisville has done as well, because I think they just wrapped up their wayfinding project, just to see how they name things as well. It's just no thought.
Yeah.
I want you to come across the town and go, what?
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
So initiate planning for open space and trail naming project?
Yeah.
Does that sound good enough?
Yep.
Mhm.
All right, so that's all I had from our meeting that would impact our work plan. Did anybody else remember anything?
So I have, not from the meeting, but just because we had discussed on Trails Day, due to budgetary constraints, pushing out or not having Jim come and do his horsemanship clinic. Is that something we may want to revisit in third or fourth quarter as well? Because I think it'd be nice to have it, but I think we were gonna go back and review where we were with budget then for the rest of this year. Or, I don't know.
That's-
And I don't know if that's something we need to have in the work plan or not, so.
That's a good question, so,
So it seemed to be that the board was willing to take out Jeff and Paige from the 5,000.
yeah, that was.
Now, whether that's, out of the open space fund or not, doesn't really matter, but at least it's out of that 5,000, that we're not, saying, okay, it's already half, cause we gotta cover Jeff and Paige.
Yeah, I mean, I'd still prefer it not come out of open space, cause 1,500 of that is just ice cream. And-
Yeah, but I think it's a good community event too. I think it's what makes people be happy that they live in a town that gives events and whatever. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
It's
I
true.
think it's small money, so either way.
But this is smaller money, so.
No, but I think that lends it, I think that Trails
Yeah.
Day is full, so I
Mhm.
think, that's clear that we're full there, but I think that this will probably, in June, after we do Trails Day and kind of know the funds, you probably know pretty quickly, we'll know pretty quickly then if there's an extra $500 to $700 laying around that would cover, thinking of what it cost the last time,
Right.
that then you could do it. I think the hard part is if you start it we lucked out the last time we did it, it was a beautiful day.
We did it at the end of
In
the summer,
Octo-
is that?
We did it in
No,
October,
in October,
like the
yeah.
beginning of October. So,
Q4.
you see the weather, how it's been here, but I think you have
Yeah.
better, I don't think people who love horses will probably stand out there regardless of the weather, but I think you're better trying to at least get it on the books by October.
At the latest.
At the latest
Yeah.
for doing it, so just thinking of your time, I think you should, if we're gonna talk about it, it should be in that, at the end of the second quarter, saying if we've got the money and this is a go, we wanna start thinking about planning it, or the very beginning of July and August,
Yeah.
planning it.
So maybe in the third quarter, we add something that says evaluate possibility of horsemanship clinic.
Yeah.
Early
Well, I
Q3.
mean, that's something we could also do internally, and since there wasn't any direction to run the work plan, we just revisited it, put it on the calendar.
If that's okay.
Yeah, that's
I don't-
fine with
I
us.
just wanna
Yeah,
make
that's-
sure we're doing what we need to do.
Ongoing education, outreach.
Yeah, it covers under all that
Okay.
stuff, so.
Okay.
And I think it's
that's-
better here to stick to the things that we did discuss
That's a good
at the
idea.
dinner.
I'm just bringing it up just
Yeah.
because I wanna make sure we're all legit.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I don't wanna.
And you're a smart guy.
Yeah.
The only comment I would make is, and I think you've heard Trustee Ryan say this, if you've got a good idea, bring it to us. So if you get to August and you got a little bit of money left or part of the money left, and you think it's something that would really be viable for the town, then bring it back. Allison and them can send it to us basically an email and get our temperatures on it. So, you're not talking $10,000 here.
No.
No.
So if it's something that you've got a real interest in, and so I would say just bring it back.
Okay. So
Don't let it go, because it sounds like it's a good idea.
Yeah, no, if we have the budget for it, I think it'd be awesome to do it again.
Yeah, and I think you'll know in June, pretty close, June, July, you'll know what's left of the budget. It's always tricky to,
Yeah.
kind of know what's invoiced and it's gotta go out, so
Yeah.
you wanna know that, but
Okay, perfect.
it's gonna be exciting.
So as far as just debrief in general, actually, I guess, does anyone want to make a motion to approve our?
Do we have to vote on this? We
Oh,
don't
man,
have-
we don't have 5 people.
Do we have to vote on this? Do we have to vote on it? Can't we just send it up?
We've voted on it in the past.
Yeah, I think we would have to
Yeah.
vote on it.
I remember we voted on our most recent one. I don't know if we've voted on it for a year.
I wonder if we could try to figure something out, since it was done we had quorum at the dinner.
We did.
We did have quorum at the.
And it was the recommendation of the board to do it.
I'm not gonna turn this on. It'll probably pick up, but, I say go ahead, and if this is what you agree to, go ahead, and the 4 of you agreed unanimously, send it back to us, send it to your other members and say, do you guys have any objection to
Yep.
that? And then just send it back to us, you're not gonna have any issues with it.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're not adding anything.
It's
that
not
we
like a
weren't
brand new work
directed.
plan.
We've already told you to add these
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
we're not
Okay.
adding something
So I
that's,
think
Yeah.
that's why I'm wondering if we can just slide it under,
We'll
we're
make sure to
updating the document.
we'll reflect that accordingly in the notes.
Are you taking notes?
Mhm.
or-
Yeah.
Yeah, I would just say you updated your work plan at the direction
Of the board.
trustees, send it back to us.
Awesome. I like that approach.
That's
Yeah,
perfect.
makes it.
Perfect. So I guess just covering everything else from the debrief. So the first thing was the cultivating relationships. I think we kind of touched on that. We've got the thumbs up, and once we have an idea of what the Trust for Public Land can kind of help us out here in Superior, we can report up to the board. Shan Trailhead. My takeaway is we move forward with the way we're going. If we have an imperfect solution, we will move forward with the goal of making it a more perfect solution once Rogers Farm is figured out.
Yeah.
But that, I guess, maybe Allison, this lands on you, maybe it lands on Patrick, but that staff continues to talk with the Rogers Farm developers to stay in their ear about access to the trailhead.
But in the meantime, I mean, it sounds like we were also given approval, correct me if I'm wrong, to go ahead and reach out to like the Historic Commission to start discussing names or elements and things like that, just to get a feel for it. Am I incorrect? And
No, I think we definitely heard that maybe you and Ryan can reach out to their chair and vice chair and say, you know, we had our dinner with the board. You know, one of the things as we move through this project, we'd like to talk, and you should probably also bring them in on the naming of any or the naming thing
Yeah,
as
the
well,
naming thing.
because, you know, and just say, these are the two projects that our committee's gonna be looking at the next year, like, let's set up a time to start talking and, you know.
My, as far as timing of starting all those conversations, I would say, I mean, I'd rather wait just to get Boulder County's first initial approval, just to make sure that there's nothing that we don't know that's gonna stop this up front. I don't foresee that happening. They told us that they liked it. They've told multiple people that this is something they like.
what would it hurt though to reach out to them ahead of time anyway? It's not like, they're just suggestions at this point, right? It's not like we're committing to anything.
Well, right.
It gets them discussing things early on and.
Because if there's a showstopper, then we've just wasted time. We've had
Well,
that
I
With
discussion.
think you
naming?
reach out
Well,
with-
it's just something on their agenda that they are then discussing that gets
I think
stopped.
they'd be thrilled to, I mean, that's fine, they can,
No,
it's not a problem, I
What
don't
if
think.
something delays it by a year?
That's
Right,
okay,
then-
again, it's just discussions, right? It's kinda like our collaboration with the trust, right? We're beginning collaborative discussions.
Are you talking about just naming Shan, or are you talking about the naming for everything overall?
Whatever you guys wanna name, I don't, it could be trails, it could be
Okay. In that case, I fully agree with you.
Yeah.
I thought we were just
I
talking
would-
Shan.
No.
I would just
Okay,
reach
yeah.
out to them with those two things and say, these are the two things we have. And you could even say in your email, you know, we're beholden to Boulder County to approve the thing, so just, you know,
Okay.
we're not sure on the timing of that, but, you know, at some point over the summer, do you guys wanna meet to collaborate or think about, like, we'll just keep you guys
In the loop.
informed, yeah, in the loop, thank you, in the loop, and then they can, they meet monthly, so I don't know what I mean, they could be like, we've got 50, I mean, they have a presence at, I don't think Arbor Day, but they definitely do it 4th of July, and they, you know, so they might be like, hey, we're booked up anyways until we get past 4th of July, because they do, you know, their fire truck there.
And I can also send the group the framework for the processes that have gone in the past, so it wouldn't be, you know, having to really reinvent
Yeah.
a bunch of stuff or a new process that hasn't been approved. And then if you could see the framework, it might make it a little easier too.
Okay, so after the meeting, if you wanna send out the framework, and then after we look at that, Ryan and I can reach out to Historic Commission and just open up that door.
Who's the chair of the store?
I'm forgetting his name.
Or Sarah Dorsey,
Yeah. Okay. Any other Shan? The next item was clarity on committee input at all levels of the development plans. That's going back, that's gonna be discussed at the next board retreat, so.
Yeah,
Mm,
procedure.
Yep. Naming trails and open space we discussed.
I'm looking at town 15.
Yeah, town 15, there was no,
They asked to remove it, so that was done.
yep.
Okay, can I ask, was there a reason why to remove it?
Yeah,
Okay.
the mayor, said that it was also requested of ProStack to remove it from their plans as well, and it was basically just the board themselves have not yet developed a position and wanna have an internal talk before we start giving them ideas, discussions, so they wanted to keep it at their level
Okay.
before. it
So if
came
we
out
have great
of our
ideas, we
level.
keep it to ourselves for this, for now.
As
As a
a
committee.
as a committee,
committee.
yes.
Okay.
As a resident, by all means. But yeah, as a committee, we were told. Yep.
Take it off.
Yeah. Dog-related issues we discussed, beyond the signage that we'll have and the cleanup event. The board again said they'll talk at a higher level about the off-leash issues and whatnot.
Yeah,
and
they
it-
have
and rec-
other things. They realize they have to make a decision one way or the other.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if it's more code enforcement or whatever, but they have to take it up and
So when it comes.
kicking it around, it does.
Yeah, so it could come back down to us, but that's not at us yet. And then the last thing we touched base on was just Jeff and Paige, and that we will make work Jeff and Paige.
Yeah, they're out of ours, so that's,
Yeah.
The final thing, though, that we didn't discuss, but a resident brought up in the public comment was the parcels on Third Avenue. So there
Yes.
are 7 parcels on Third Ave, 6 or 7 that are up for sale, it sounds like, that border. I don't know, I might have to send you to the vault to take off the map, Sean. That border to the back of open space or to the side, and that, that hasn't been on our list.
Right, so I talked to Martin Toth at Tuesday's, what was it called, the Tuesday noon meeting?
Like
The
State of
State of
Superior.
Superior.
State
Yeah.
Superior.
And he said that's actually come up in the past, but because it's platted as a residential development, it's gonna pretty much stay that way.
Okay, that's
So-
fine.
so
This is the
it's-
first I had heard.
Yeah, I was like, what?
Yeah.
And then I also looked on, so it said pending, so it may already be, I don't know, someone has bought it and are thinking about developing it already. But yeah, it has been available in the past 10 years, as well.
And they haven't.
And it's been discussed previously and it's off the table.
Okay.
So how is that different than the 76th Street parcels? I mean, those are, actually, you know what, that's unincorporated.
You're right, right.
That's the difference.
Right,
That's
whereas
Boulder
this
County.
is, yeah, this is more in the
Yeah, that's
original
actually
town
already got-
neighborhood and.
it's already zoned.
Whereas that's on the edge and unincorporated, right? Okay. So yeah, I had the same question and got my
Is-
answer.
So I wanna walk a line here. Is that Martin's call to make, or is that something that the board should make? And I'm not going either way. My thought of why it was brought up is that, how can I phrase this? Original towns might have more of an appetite of gaining open space in that area now that some of their neighborhood has changed than they have in the past 10 years, that they might be more interested in something being taken out and left as open space. So I will just, I'm not making any recommendations, but I would, I'll just give that over to you as our trustee liaison, and you guys can discuss it.
Thank you so much. I'm not
Thanks for
officially your
being with Mark
liaison.
tonight.
Don't want to touch that one.
So I'm just gonna say, I don't think, you know, that would be my only response.
So
is that
will you
it
tell
was-
me, sorry, I was actually writing a note on something else, so I kind of missed what you were told.
So Martin basically told me, this has come up previously in previous discussions, maybe in front of the board over the course of the last 10 years. That property has become available as well, I guess, and it's platted as a residential development, I guess, and so because of that and being embedded in a neighborhood, it was basically decided back then that they were not going to pursue it, and I'm not sure that they would recommend pursuing it now. So,
Okay, here's what I would tell
I
you.
defer to
is
Martin at this point.
This is a completely different board. I'm not saying one way or the other what my feeling is, but this is a completely different board than we probably had in place 10 years ago. I think most of you guys can kind of figure that out. We had absolutely no reservations about acquiring the Town 15, and the Town 15 was zoned commercial, so it's up to you guys to think about what you think.
So I would say then my.
have you
thought-
driven past it to see even what it looks like? And
I was say, can we, let's make sure we're all
I think
on
it's
the
in
same
the
page.
up that, see where the bend's in the road?
Yeah, that's what I was
It's
gonna
all to the
say.
west of that,
I got
from
it.
the bend down to
Oh, yeah.
where it says Children's Park, basically, I think. It's kind of that segment, and
Oh,
the buildings are
thank
no
you,
longer
Allison.
there. I think they.
I will say, when it
tore
was
the
mentioned
buildings
at the
down.
meeting, I went, never
Yeah.
thought about that.
Well, yeah, we all
Well,
did.
but I think
mean,
we
I
all-
literally had not thought about it.
No, neither had we. I mean, you know, obviously, usually the spaces we look at that have residents on them are much larger acreage and everything. We're not going
Oh,
around to
yeah.
every house and say, gee, we could buy those 5 houses right there and do something.
Yeah.
Like I said, I
Go
think.
Further down.
north, go north, I
I
think.
mean, my
I could be wrong,
feeling
but-
is, nothing's off the table. We should always think
Out
about
in this
things.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know what our temperature would be on it.
Does that attaches to like the creek property? Is that
I think so, yeah.
The
If you
access
look at the,
border is up to the open space that is already,
Let's
so
see
I
if I
think
can
that's
find
why
it.
the resident brought it up.
Oh, no.
No, wait.
Sorry.
open space.
So it's like kind of along the creek area?
Yes,
kinda
right, it
cool.
borders the creek, yes. I do remember that coming up for sale on Zillow, and then it disappeared, and it was.
So I tried to search for it afterwards, and it didn't come up.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. Everything that I can find now just says that it is it looks like it's already under contract. And it looks like it's divided into potentially 2 lots. If you go to the Boulder County property viewer,
Well, I know
As
there's
well.
a house to this, on this right-hand side.
yeah, I think they tore the stuff down on the left. Is what?
This, are you saying this house?
I'm not sure if it's that one or the one to the south of it. I'm not. That's the part I can't. I have a very vague
it might
recollection.
be that
of.
one, that one right there,
Yeah.
right where your cursor is.
I mean, I'll drive past it tonight and even just
I was gonna
see if
say,
there's a
I'm-
for sale sign. I mean, it's just around the corner from here. But, based on what Martin was saying, I'm not sure how much merit there is and if it's even available, to be honest. It might be under contract like I thought it
I think we
was.
should do just a little bit of due diligence.
Yeah, we
on
can.
this
Yeah,
and
yeah,
just
it's
see-
worth it.
Yeah.
So let's,
I agree with that we should look at that, but I would also say, Sandy, you can mention that to your, fellow board members, because we want to make sure
Allison,
we have the right.
Could you ask
information to
Martin
work on.
about it too, or?
I honestly don't know.
yeah. So let's all do a little bit of due diligence on our own and whatnot, and when we reconvene next month, we'll talk it out, see what we all think, see if it's a worthwhile property. Hopefully, if it is for sale still, we can see what a price looks like, see if we think it's worth it, and
There's
have the
nothing
conversation.
wrong with you guys sending an email, an official communication to the board saying, is this
Yeah.
something we actually
Should look at it.
should look at?
Okay.
I mean,
I'm sorry they have to.
an
run.
email to all the board is
Yep.
always a good thing.
Okay, yeah.
So
Well,
yeah,
we'll-
here, Ken, you can see on the Boulder County viewer, I wish I could plug in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Allison, or Tricia needs to go, sorry. She
So I
needs
just
to
want
say
to
something.
say, I can do time at the Arbor Day, so when
Oh,
you send out
awesome.
the email, just,
Okay.
we'll fill in, but we don't have to do it now, but I can
Thank
definitely
you.
do some time. I have those things, so if you want me to bring them there, let me know if I should bring them there or if we should hold them to, Trails Day.
Okay.
Boy Scouts are good to go,
So that awesome.
you know,
Awesome.
so then we'll be ready.
Beautiful. Thank you, Trish.
Thank you, sorry, I
That's
told
all.
Katie you'd probably be there. That's fine, yeah, usually I walk down to, that's also the day that shredding starts.
So yeah, it is that driveway at the curve, and then everything to the south of that is that property
Yeah.
that I think Gladys is
So
referring
it's
to.
up, it goes
And
up
that-
this way and then.
Yeah,
it's
and then
here.
back, and it all backs to that open space there, and it looks like it's 1.77 plus, and again, I think it's 2 lots, 1.77 plus 1.38 acres, if I'm reading this correctly, and it's right on the creek. And it's all owned by someplace in Jamestown, somebody in Jamestown,
All right.
yeah.
So let's we'll add it to next month's agenda.
Yep.
Okay. So I think that covers the board debrief. Anything else? Okay. National Trails Day planning.
I have a quick marketing blurb for you guys, just to kind of show the update with times and everything.
Woo.
I know. It's coming on us.
The
quick.
detail work, yep.
I know, I've got to, I want to try to get it in our newsletter.
It's time, yep.
So, and our Parks and our pros newsletter. So
Oh, I didn't save that. Just let's push save.
I'm going to save
Awesome.
it right now. I save everything. Okay.
Back to that though, how do we submit that? Will Allison do it, or you will?
Let's.
Oh, no, we need to circulate it.
We have to circulate with Joel, yeah.
Oh,
Joel and
yeah.
Tracy.
And Tracy.
Okay.
Yeah, can you send it over to us, and we'll, or shoot it out to the group, and we'll just see if anyone has any final comments.
And it would be great to have that back ASAP this week because I have to.
Okay. So we probably won't hear from Tracy, but we'll hear
Yeah.
from Joel, but that'll be
Oh, you'd be
sufficient.
surprised, she's been answering some of my emails, surprised.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, go Tracy.
Yeah, right.
Just
Or-
not
She's
enjoying-
very.
Or enjoy your vacation. Come on.
Yeah.
No kidding.
So I just kind of revamped it, just like with a lot of the same wording from last year, but changed times and some of the stuff. So I have 8:15 to 12, and I know Joel isn't here. I should probably touch base with him, but I said 30 minutes for a bike ride because that's what we were doing for the jog. You could probably get quite a few miles
But
there.
you can get a ways in 30 minutes, yeah.
Yeah, but there is some hilly areas that might be harder for younger kids. And I just put, bring your bike, meet at the trailhead. Ashley will be there. This year Hot Quest is gonna bring some owls, I think all owls. So it'll be a different presentation than it has in the past.
Cool.
And they changed their time.
Awesome.
Boulder County, I don't think we're gonna do trail etiquette, but I don't know, should we put dog? I'll talk to you about dog waste.
But
And
dog
coyotes.
kind of fits into trail etiquette though, in a way.
Okay, all right, so
I-
we'll leave that.
That's
great.
fine.
People may not want to hear about dogs, but trail etiquette's a nicer way to tee it
And
up.
I mean, if we could even give them our bags, if
Yeah.
we want
Oh,
to.
yeah.
I think having them pass out the remainder of our bags makes
Yeah.
sense if they're willing to do it.
Okay, and then I put take a wagon ride on the open space and feel just like pioneers from
Yep.
10 a.m. to 12. I don't know, I kind of felt that's what the group was
And that's what the,
feeling the vibe.
yeah, and that's what actually the carriage person was saying. He's
Yeah.
like, wow, this is just gonna be just like what the pioneers saw.
Hee haw.
Okay, cool. So I kind of channeled my OSAC experience.
Awesome.
Then I still
That's right,
kind of
gotta
up
get
in
the
the air
gear.
if we're doing outdoor gear. If we're gonna buy anything and raffle it, if not, I could take it out.
No, I think we want to, right?
If you want to, yeah.
I need
Okay.
to.
And what did we say we were going to go just look at Costco even to see what we could find?
Yeah.
What were we gonna, what was
And what was
our
our
budget for
budget?
this? Yeah, that was the main thing.
We had spent roughly $50 in the past, I believe, on these.
$50 all in for all the swag.
No, it was $50 for what you could win. It was trekking poles and a hydration pack.
Okay.
Those
and they were
two
only
things.
$20 a piece.
Yeah, I think it was like
for
closer to
Costco.
$40, yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
cool.
And they're decent quality for that
Mhm.
price. We did not ever finish conversations about the rest of our swag, if I'm remembering.
No, and I
conversation
know there was
died.
discussions about signs too. And I didn't know if the
Oh,
group
the
was gonna get
placards?
them and then I can reimburse or, you know, however you wanna do that.
We decided on which ones we wanted from Jefferson
Mhm.
County was sharing
Yeah.
those signs, and we decided on those, which ones we wanted to print.
Allison, do you guys have, how do you guys do your printing for?
We typically, use a local business, you know, for everything.
I mean, if it's possible, I think that'd probably be easiest, if, unless that's too much of a burden on you guys, just to get the 3 printed up.
So you wanted 3 like sandwich board type, you know,
Yeah.
that you stick in
Mhm.
the ground? Is that what you?
I think that's where we were picturing something
Yeah.
large,
Like the other ones, we
eye-catching.
have the maps and,
Oh, you mean
Oh,
like
the-
our poster boards?
like-
I make those usually. I go to Office Max and I buy this poster board and everything, and then I print it out on a plotter here.
I think,
And then I just charge,
How are
you
we
know,
displaying
it's
those?
just a
I was gonna say, it comes down
charge.
to how we want to display it.
I
so-
just like having them sitting on the table, and when someone wants to talk about it, you just pull it up and you can move it around if it's busy, and you can pull it off to the side with someone. Again, with the dog stuff though, that may not be as visible,
So what we could do is, you know how we have these tripod things that people display with, and they can, you know, the white paper they can write
Mhm.
stuff on? We could maybe, I'm sure they have to have some of those around here, we could display them on those if.
You mean like an easel?
Yeah, like
I
an
could buy
easel.
one for you guys.
Yeah,
We
I mean,
could-
my only concern about having it on the table is just, we want to be able to reuse it at the other events also.
Plus if people, I mean,
No,
when
no,
they're
no, what I
walking in,
mean
they'll
is
see
it's
it.
plastered to board. So when I mean on the
Right.
table, it's
Yeah.
just sitting there until we pick it up.
Yeah,
We walk
yeah.
around, we can point people to it, just like we have with those other.
And
Does
what I
Trish
do
have
is I go
those,
to
or do I
Office
have
Max
those?
and I buy a big foam board and then I
Yeah.
print it out and stick it to the foam board, you
And
know.
just-
I just thought it'd be nice to get it up, off the table, but up, cause we have
Right,
so
but
much
if we
stuff
do
on
it
the
that way, we
table.
can do it up, we could pull it off of there if we wanted to talk to somebody.
Yeah,
I
it'd
just
be
like-
nice to have something to, if people are walking by, they're like, oh, what's that over there, if they see it up? Cause they won't necessarily, there might be people that would walk past the table without even seeing it.
And I guess too is like how long you're gonna use them. Usually the ones that I make you know, we use them for the year
Mhm.
and then interests change and then we change them, so that
I think it would be
another-
for the year. I mean, I think we'd use it at Chili Fest and 4th of July.
Mhm.
So, just thinking about like the life of these things then, is 3 excessive? Because I mean, we have all the space we want at Trails Day, but then we end up having to share space at the other events. Is that too much? I
It
liked all
might be
3.
because we also want to have something on Rocky Flats.
Yeah.
We also want to have our trail map out there. So there's 2 other ones that we know, like 3 on dogs probably is excessive.
Yeah, I would say we drop it to 1 or 2.
Well, if you guys wanna do some emails and then.
See which.
I like
let me
maps
know.
personally, if we're gonna drop it, I'd
Yeah,
drop
like-
it to 2 and just do the map versions. That's just me,
The maps of the trails?
Yeah, and what was the other one?
Well, I think we could have 3. One,
and
one map
Rocky
and
Flats, right.
one map. Yeah, maybe one map, one something on Rocky Flats, and then one on dog related.
We did have the dog one that we already did from
That's
last
what
year
I
that
thought.
shows the cycle and
Okay.
all of that stuff too.
Sure. So
That's
we'd
already
only-
done.
Yeah, so we'd only need 2.
And the other ones were more just catchy.
Yeah.
They
it's
were-
more like eye-catching.
Yeah, they were big pictures, but one phrase about rattlesnakes are out there, keep your dog on a leash. I mean, that's what that's all it was. Those other ones are more informative. I mean,
And
there's more
that would
information.
be very useful at the National Trails Day event. 'cause
On the gate.
At Colton.
Yeah.
There are rattlesnakes at the wazoo over there. So we have dog already. How about we
We
stick
have
with
dog, we have map, we would just need a Rocky Mountain Greenway.
and we
something.
we would need to develop that. That might be like a pamphlet type thing. I don't know.
That'd be
if we-
tough because, as Joel has mentioned, it keeps changing and
Yeah.
there's no.
So maybe what that is just some talking points, having a
Agreed.
document we could
Well,
read
they have a
through and bone
website.
up.
You could like refer people to their
Yep.
website or something where you could find up-to-date info.
So as far as large things, then we're down to, we've got the dog thing, we've got the maps. So maybe we just do rattlesnakes this year as the additional one.
That can be Ashley's, we can let Ashley discuss
Rattlesnake.
rattlesnakes. We'll have the rangers do trail etiquette and dog waste. You guys can do the,
Trails.
Rocky Mountain
Oh, Rocky,
trails
yeah.
and, and the regular trails, just trails.
Yeah, all trails. Yeah. Thus Trails Day.
She'll like to do rattlesnakes.
Yeah, rattlesnakes versus bull snakes. I never know. What is the difference between one is poisonous, the other one isn't, but how do you tell the difference? Because they both rattle, don't they?
The bull snakes are more aggressive, in my opinion.
You
Are
tell by
they?
the shape of the head,
The
the
sh-
color.
Is it?
The
Okay.
a bull snake has more of a variant in the color, I think, where a rattlesnake is pretty
And they
similar
don't really
color.
have a rattle,
Yeah.
although they shake their tail. But it's not a.
Yeah, they pretend to be rattlesnakes.
Yeah, right.
No
Bad
problem
news.
then.
Yeah. Okay, so we're doing
Find her email.
snakes.
Ashley's gonna do the snakes,
Right.
and then we're gonna do the trails, and we have
You're right.
the one set for trails, right? And- but
Do we know where that
And-
is?
And
don't.
we
It's
should
either at my
have
house or
our,
Trish's house.
Parks passes.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
The maps.
The
but
passports?
You,
Yeah.
you guys will do just trail
Yep.
stuff. Yeah.
And I did speak with Heather Craycraft of the Chamber of Commerce on Monday. She said that she is working diligently with the CAPS committee to get their trail maps done and hopefully available to us by Trails Day so we can distribute as well.
Oh, that'll be another one, a different one than the parks passes?
Yep.
The passports?
Yep.
Oh, okay. And then Boulder County can do dog stuff. So one of my questions was, are we gonna order more of the dog bags? Or are we just gonna have Boulder County hand out? Cause at one point, I was sending emails on pricing and stuff
remember
like that.
that,
And that died.
Yeah, we were going back and forth between that and first aid.
Right.
So let's try to make it. I mean, there's just three of us tonight, but
I
Let's
prefer
make
the
it, we need
first
to make
aid
a
stuff.
decision.
I like to mix it up. I mean, we still have dog bags left over.
There's
but-
also sunblocks on little keychains that are pretty cool, like Rocky Mountain sunblock or, I don't know.
That's true.
Cause I remember, don't we usually bring sunblock out there?
Allison, what were we based?
I don't think,
What-
there's actually sunblock out at the trailhead.
Yeah.
But I don't
What,
think.
what was our rough budget for swag? Do you remember?
Well, when we did the dog bags last time, it was about $500.
Okay, so first aid kits we can get 500 for $745. So we can drop that down accordingly. If we did the 1 ounce sunscreen, we could get a 500 for $695. So it's slightly cheaper, but not super drastically. I think the first aid might be a bit better. It's a fairly basic first aid kit.
Mhm.
It's got different Band-Aids, some burn cream, antiseptic towelette. The problem is once you start getting into nice first aid kits, they got prohibitively expensive for swag.
Yeah.
So we can give a basic first aid kit, which still isn't bad. You put that in your car, you put that in your pocket, whatever.
Never
That's
have enough of those.
yeah.
No, I use a baseball all the time.
Yeah, so I still like that idea. And
All right, well, let's go with that.
so if we try to stick with roughly $500, that roughly 320 of those
Should
is
be
what we
enough.
can get. So
Plus
that's
the dog bags
that we already have.
that we already have.
Do we have
Okay.
like one box left, I think?
I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
So that those will go quick.
Yeah.
And if we're gonna do supplies for a cleanup also.
And that was really cheap though.
Right.
I don't even think I turned in the receipt for that one. I just grabbed a
I don't
Costco
remember
box.
you giving that receipt.
Yeah, I just grabbed a Costco box of garbage bags and some gloves, and we just wrapped those together with some zip ties that they gave to me from Safeway. So, yeah,
Cool.
that cost all of I think $15 to pull together. Okay, so Allison, you want me to resend you this link then that I found?
Yeah, and just let me know how many
Okay.
you wanna, and then I can order it.
Perfect.
And if you didn't want to go to Costco to get hydration packs or anything like that, I can always order some T-shirts from National Trails Day, American Hiking Society. I can always do that too. We could give those out as swag too, because I think they're like $10 a piece or something. So for $50, we could probably get 5 or ish, 4 or 5.
Preference? Do we want? It's either like 2 items, the poles or impact, or we can do 5 items. Do you guys care?
I don't know. They're both cool, but more might be better. And it is a T-shirt at the event, and I don't know.
Advertising
Yeah.
Trails Day. And
It's a cool shirt.
Yeah.
I sent out the new thing too, so.
the only problem is the sizing, right? That's, you know.
That's true.
No, that's a good point.
Yeah, and
Someone always knows someone who can wear large.
I mean, right.
Large is always the
I could
easiest
get
one.
2
I always go-
mediums, 2 larges.
Yeah,
or
and
something.
it's
Or one
always-
of each. You know.
How about we do 2 mediums and 3 larges, and
no extra larges?
we could do an extra large.
Yeah, do 1 extra large just in case.
Okay,
Okay, 2 medium, 2 large, 1 extra large.
perfect.
Okay.
And no backpacks, no poles.
And that'll be easy.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
I forgot about that. Was there someone in our group that said they were interested in a T-shirt?
Joel?
Yes, Joel.
Joel.
'Cause he didn't have one yet, I guess.
Just do either of you guys want the shirts from this year?
I've got 2 already, so I'm good.
Ryan, did
I'm
you want?
okay.
Yeah, I'm okay too.
And I have
Okay.
his shirt size probably from last year, because I think he got one last year, but he only has one.
And he was the only person that said he wanted one, right?
Mhm.
Can you pull a trigger for him as
Yeah.
well? Awesome. Yeah. Perfect. Jinx. Allison, you sent over our approval from Boulder County.
Mhm.
Was it just Ryan and I on that? Do we have
Yes, it was just you and Ryan, and the main takeaway is the loading and unloading needs to take place at the horse parking
Okay.
at the trailhead. So I'm gonna have that coned off so nobody will park there, because typically people use that for parking.
Yep.
And the other thing we're gonna have to think about, that crossed my mind when I was thinking about cones, was people coming in and the wagon coming through, that we're gonna have to be really mindful, and somebody's gonna probably need to
Like block cars.
flag, or,
Use
as
the-
that
yeah.
process happens each round of the ride.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do we need to pass any of that information on to the carriage people? Or is it easy enough for us just?
So at this point, I guess I think they're just waiting for us to pull the trigger, and I
Right.
said probably next steps is Allison, you contact them to set up the contract and whatever else.
Cool.
So I would say at that point, I mean, they'd let you know what they need, I'm sure. They sound like they have the whole thing under control, but.
Well, and typically at our other event where we've used them, we don't need another person for traffic directions, so I don't know if they have that available, but that may be something, if they don't have, once we flesh it out, if they do not have someone available for that, then maybe a volunteer will have to.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
we'll make
fine.
we'll make sure that one of us is available for that then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But mainly, we're good to go. I gave you the contact information for rangers, we've got keys, we've got
That's great, man, that's
Mhm.
great.
all
This-
that stuff.
This is gonna be cool.
Yeah, this is gonna be a good one.
Yeah.
So, man, is there anything else outstanding? Are we at the point that think we're good.
And that marketing was good for you guys, because
Yeah.
I can get that into our newsletter like Friday and
I think that looked good.
start going. Cool. That's great.
Yeah, I think we are good.
Cool. All right. This is gonna be a good one. I'm excited for this. So moving on, evaluate education and outreach opportunities. There's 3 of us here. Do we want to try to table this till we have everybody in the room, or do we want to talk about it?
I think 5 minutes. I mean, we actually have some okay ideas on here, and this actually goes back to what Sean was saying earlier. I mean, this kind of tees up the horse
Yeah.
education
Mm-hmm.
item,
Yep.
in which we discussed that we would look at it after this event to see what budget was available.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we basically, I mean, we got dog education, we're adding, we have what we, the big thing already. We're gonna have, I'm sorry, who was gonna talk about, was it Boulder County that was gonna talk about dog waste?
Correct.
So we're gonna have that become a theme at Trails Day. We'll find talking points and whatnot to work Rocky Flats into our spiel, and include the Rocky Mountain Greenway into that. We've definitely beefed it up.
I mean, it seems, I mean, in the Greenway stuff, that'll segue into the other events. You know, maybe we can get a poster together or something more concrete. Let's see how this goes and see if we maybe want to do more, because we'll learn more about how that's going to progress through the summer. I have a feeling that'll heat up through the summer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess the discussion is, is there anything else we should be doing? I mean, even the, I guess is the naming.
I was gonna say, and we're adding a lot more outreach. I mean, we're gonna be reaching out to Historical Commission to work with us on naming of open space and trails and Shan Shan. By meeting with ProStack this year, that's a big outreach just across committee lines to talk about several different topics that cross both boundaries.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we could accomplish all of that, that will have been a successful year.
I fully agree.
Are there any, so for this year, are there any months where we're not having some kind of educational opportunity? I guess I'm looking to Allison at this point. Do we have something for every month at this point?
Pretty much. I think there might be, I think November or December, one or the other is the only month where Ashley is not doing some type of educational outreach, or we don't have an event where you or, the group is participating in. I mean, we tried to spread it out that way. So we've already booked all of her, looking at the full moon for the night hikes and all that kind of stuff is in the books already.
Has she talked about hibernation or anything like that? Winter activities or winter animal traits?
Yeah, we
or
have the winter wildlife hike.
Okay, when's
So,
that?
that's part of that.
Is that like December or something?
January.
Oh, January, okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
The other thing we from our last meeting, we did get that talking paper on e-bikes put together, so we've got that also
Yep.
as an education piece that'll be, that's available to us, so.
That goes good with trails too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
And that, the whole point there was just to print that out so we could have the talking points if anybody asked.
Yeah.
While we're there.
Be able
I
to
think
speak
it's pretty good.
intelligently to it. No, it's good, for sure.
And I can print those out if you guys wanna tell me how many copies or whatever.
I mean, I think just 2 or 3,
I think we
just
would
so
just
we
want
can.
2 or 3 there
Just-
that we could refer to if we get asked, or to read in downtime.
Yeah.
Or just if we get asked, oh yeah,
Yeah.
what's a class 2? I forget. Oh yeah, it's, assisted when you're not pedaling. It has a throttle and it could go this fast. Right? I mean, that's
I want one.
essentially- I think actually, yeah, it'd be a lot of fun.
That would
Yeah.
be.
You write them, you can't help but smile.
I wanna go demo one somewhere.
I know.
Yeah.
And then after that, you're gonna want an off-road Segway.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be sweet. My kids would keep asking for a site rep. I'm like, no, you have to walk.
So I guess are we
I think
good on
we're
this one
good.
then?
Yeah.
I mean, between the three of us, I guess, yeah.
I mean, with the fact that we just added,
Could you bring up the work plan? Because we had some suggestions in there, and I
that's
just
what these
wanted-
are. I
Oh,
copied
they
them-
are. Okay.
I copied
all
them
right.
from the work plan.
Okay. Then I don't know what else to say.
Yeah. I mean, my other concern is if we tried to make another event, we just added to the work plan doing the cleanup. We're gonna be working now with the Trust for Public Land, and what was the third thing we just added? Yeah, it's been a long day. No. The naming open space.
Mhm.
So I mean, we're filling ourselves up pretty
Yeah.
quick. I'd say let's stick with this now, and we can add some more later next year if we need to.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Updates and look-aheads then. Arbor Day event Saturday, April 21st.
From 10 to 12,
10 to 12.
Wildflower Park.
Trish said she could do some of it. I'm not going to know until that week whether I'll be able to be there. I'd love to do it this year because I haven't done it in the past. I might be out of town for work. I just don't know yet.
I am booked solid with kid activities up.
I know, I'm the same way. I've got 2 soccer games in there.
Oh,
and,
yeah, baseball tournament. Oh.
So
Now,
let's throw an
it-
email out to the group.
if we get in a pinch, I'll see what I can do.
I the likelihood of me going out of town is low on this one, so I'm hoping I can show for this.
Okay.
But let's still send an email out to the group. Ryan, if you just write, they will email the group. That'll remind me to send out an email to the group. So joint meeting with ProStack, as I mentioned earlier. Ryan and I have had communications with Peter and Corey. We're trying to figure out how we're going to do the open space ranking or the trail ranking this year, 5-year trail plan. We're trying to find when we have a time to meet. I asked if they wanted us to throw out some type of doodle poll. Didn't get a response.
Mm-mm.
I'm guessing that's still what's going to make the most sense.
Yeah,
though.
I think maybe we should just do it.
Yeah.
Doodle poll for.
Availability.
What days
Oh.
would work
Mm,
best?
mm.
So,
What, as well as, are you going to discuss removing some of the things that we keep discussing? We don't need to discuss anymore.
that will
but-
definitely be part of the
Yeah.
conversation. So Allison, do you guys want to send out a poll that will include OSAC and ProStack? And I think the dates that make the most sense is just the 4 dates that are our normal meetings anyway. So the 2nd and 3rd Wednesday of May and the 2nd and 3rd Wednesday of June, and then just across the 2 committees, we'll see whichever one has the most yays, we can try to do. I won't be here at our next meeting in May. I am out of town for work on that one. So that won't work for me if that is, but that's what works for everybody else. Standing
Okay.
updates. The Boulder County Hodgin Harris Reservoir study came back.
Yeah.
You guys both got a chance to read it.
Mhm.
Yes.
I got a chance to read it.
Do you want me to pull it up?
Yeah, let's
Yes,
pull
please.
it up.
I was hoping you had it.
Yep.
And that was gonna be one of my questions tonight, to make sure you did get it, so.
And actually, Sandy, the question I had for you is, as far as distribution out to the community, do you think that's something that we can append to the OSAC notes here, or is that something that could be distributed otherwise? I know I've had residents ask me about it specifically.
I honestly don't know. I mean, I personally would have no comment, no concern about it, and I know Mark wanted to make sure that you guys all got a copy of it.
Yeah.
But my recommendation would be is to say, you guys would like to be able to make it available to the public.
Email the board.
Is it possible?
Okay.
Would
Would this
I don't
already
know
be
why.
public from Boulder somewhere? I mean, if
Uh,
there's a link to it.
It probably is. I don't know.
So
I don't
maybe
know
we
if it's an
could-
internal document, but, my thing is you just ask the question, can we
Yeah.
make this I don't know why you couldn't, but,
That's,
you know, I've only been around for a year and a half on this board, so sometimes I get myself in trouble with
well,
stuff.
and it's it's hard to tell what button will,
Yeah,
yeah.
but it seems like it should be something we should be able to distribute to the public.
Ryan, can you write on the notes that we'll email the board?
Yeah.
About distributing this. So, I mean, my big takeaways after reading this, I mean, so I looked at it from the perspective of what we had asked for. So just to read the recommendation that we made to the town board. OSAC recommends that the town board work with Boulder County to obtain an ecological assessment of the Hodgson Harris Reservoir area. This ecological assessment should include a conservation plan with recommendations for the continued and sustainable rehabilitation of the ecosystem, should identify significant risks to the sustainability of the ecosystem, and should identify areas of the property with significant wildlife activity. So, I mean, in reading through it, we heard multiple times that development adjacent to the property is a risk. We read the different types of wildlife that are there, and I don't think it said like where the birds were necessarily located, but it touched on the prairie dogs and whatnot, so we got that kind of addressed.
It was also mentioning where they were nesting. If I remember right, I think they maybe even mentioned geography.
Yep,
They did.
you are right. So we got all that. The only place where I think it came up short is just a continued recommendations. It wasn't a report that it recommended.
Well, they talked a little bit about it, though. They talked about how they can do eradication of the bullfrogs and the non-invasive species, and that, I guess, I mean, there were at least two things in there.
Yeah. May I
on
scroll
that.
down to the recommendations?
Oh, yeah, it's right here.
Sorry, right here.
Oh, good.
Yep, sorry.
Summary, is that it, the summary?
The day we. Yes. So the last two pair. Actually, I mean that's the spot that basically says multiple times that development is a risk to it.
Right, basically, from an open space perspective, with development going on, I think it's on us to make sure there's as much buffer as possible. It does not seem like we would want to interfere with the wildlife there by putting a boardwalk in or around it. We just want to keep human life as far away from it as possible at this point, and to divert any kind of stormwater away from that might cause contaminants to go into the reservoir. I mean, even with the reconstruction, we lost some of the what was the
Specific
The
to
leopard
frog.
Yeah.
And then some of the birds that were feeding
Yeah.
on the crayfish and whatnot.
Yeah, they try to mitigate that, but they just couldn't,
But
they couldn't.
But they did say they think it could return.
It could. They saw one,
Um,
and it could return.
Yeah.
Right.
It is assumed that given appropriate time and management, the values present pre-construction could return.
Right, because it still does drain down to that level where it creates this unique
yeah.
environment ecosystem that's ripe for the pluckings for those types of rarer species. That's unique to come back. So.
Just a comment on one of the things, the piece that I've kind of missed in it is that it didn't really give us a sense of the degree of the buffer we need around it in order to preserve, and based on what you guys had recommended, I kept reading, hoping that it would tell us that, and it
I
didn't.
scrolled through all the attachments looking for the same thing.
Yeah, so, I mean, I don't know, maybe there's a possibility we could go back to Boulder County and see if there were questions that weren't answered, can we ask them whether they could provide additional information? To me,
Right.
that doesn't seem like that's outside of what, if you guys had additional questions,
And I think
ask
we
them,
should.
could they provide it?
I think we should just move forward with asking for that, not waiting for development plans to.
Oh, I agree.
Go on. I think we should just
need
say,
to be proactive in
you know,
this
we-
case.
Are you willing to say a recommended buffer, keying back to what the key word there, that it could return to its original state.
Because that then, however, is like right below it, I believe.
Yeah, no, it's right there,
It
right?
should be
It's-
noted, however, yeah. So I mean, we could do this, but development.
Are they willing to give a recommendation on a buffer?
Yeah.
So,
It's directly adjacent is a little
yeah.
nebulous.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you look at the borders of the Zaharias property and the HHR, I mean, the Zaharias goes right up, I mean, extremely close to the reservoir
Mhm.
property line. It's surprising how close it is. I'll actually bring it up. Oh. You know what? I'm gonna bring it up. for you.
So we definitely want to see if we can get a recommendation on the buffer. I think this document is important enough, and we don't want to go back to Boulder County too many times. That I think what we really need to do is make sure we get everybody's input from
Yeah.
the committee.
Yeah,
on
we
this.
want to have a collective of questions before we.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think we can shoot this out to an email to have people think about and even distribute some questions about it. But let's get this on our next agenda and come up with just a final list that we can send back. Does that work for you guys?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Glad we're all on the same page on that one.
And if you just, maybe shoot me an email with like the wording, like, could you touch base with Boulder County on XYZ, and then I can just forward it that way, and
Mhm.
then we can see what happens.
Okay. We'll have all those developed for the next meeting. Wildlife enhancement and encouragement activities. Allison, did we get any more feedback from Boulder County on that?
I
When-
was kind of asked in conjunction with this, and maybe this was
The primary.
focus, yeah.
Okay. Joel's not here for Rocky Mountain Greenway.
He did send
He
out an
sent-
update.
Yeah, he sent out the update from the Stewardship Council.
Which was interesting. The one aspect that Tracy pointed out was the abnormally high.
And I've seen
in-
that in multiple of these updates throughout the years, and
You can't.
it's taken as like normal, but I'm not an expert enough to know. Should we really be concerned about that? It's hard to read these as a layperson.
It's outside of tolerances, so yes. in
But my
opinion.
takeaway is it'll be interesting to see next month or the next update,
Whether it's
does
still
it
there.
continue?
Because that seems to be what triggers whether they're concerned about it. If the
Mhm.
tolerances persist over a given time, and if they don't.
Because they cited all these other, amount of water, lack of water. I know, right? The tone, you can't tell if there's, I kind of think it's borderline serious, but they're
Mhm.
not ready to sound the alarm, or, I would write the document the same way, though. I wouldn't, it's smart of them.
Yeah.
But I do think, did we decide, though, we'd like to have a talking paper around the Greenway for Trails Day? Like for the
Yes.
e-bikes, so that might be something we need to ask Joel
To
to
see if
put
he can pull
together,
together.
see if he's willing to do that.
That sounds good.
Mhm.
And there was the Daily Camera article that I think happened between last meeting and this meeting that said they're getting ready to open the internal trails. Is it this summer? Is that what
Yeah.
the timeline was? So,
We'll see.
yeah, we'll see how that goes. Final Wishanashan Trailhead, which we covered tonight.
So with Shanshan Trailhead, I know we've submitted initial draft plans to Boulder County. Is that something we want to show or should show or can show to the public? Because there are going to be people asking, well, what's it going to look like? Do we just want to say, well, it's still in, initial period of discussion, and you know, it's gonna be, we'll say it's over here on the hillside, and
Get the final
there will
des-
be shelter, there will be porta potties, there will be parking, and just leave it at that.
And again, maybe that's something we put a bullet
Maybe,
paper
yeah.
together
Yeah.
on the thoughts. But those original designs were so, it seems like the final designs will be pretty far from those.
Yeah.
So you might give people the wrong,
Yeah, I'm just curious, because, you know, people are always looking for anything.
but I think we can tell them that where we're at with it, right? Initial
Oh, yeah.
concepts, and once we
Yeah.
get that back, we'll have more detailed concept plans that we can review and share. Maybe we can't say share, but review.
And we will share at some point. I mean,
Mhm.
this is gonna be a public outreach thing. We'll make sure there's full public engagement with it. I mean,
And knowing how the trails would connect, I would think would be like the big star of that, you know, and until they give us feedback, we won't know.
yeah, and honestly, the parking over there, I think now is kind of a bigger thing than ever, with not having as much parking over at Park One, because that basically was
Yeah.
almost a trailhead anyway, because you could easily get across under McCaslin. So
You're actually right. You could expand the trailhead a little bit, and that could help with, I mean, it's further away, but you could still park over there and bike into the parks easily.
yeah, I think adding any type of parking
Mhm.
in the adjacent area of downtown Superior is going to be beneficial at this point.
My only,
So in that case, we should also reconsider, because we had two plans, one with everything going down the slope, and then we also had the parking above. I don't know if we want to consider both in light of that, because,
I thought that the group two preferred
The higher
one
one.
over the other.
I think that was what and I think that came
The-
down to the access points, right?
yeah, I think it was the access. I think it was because we didn't know the access. I think we probably need to revisit this again.
I agree.
Because
So-
now with the direction that, let's figure out temporary access until we figure out that development. That
Mhm.
somewhat it changes the scenario, because I kind of felt we had to figure out the final access on the initial plan. So it makes me think about it different.
Yeah, so Allison, what will the package that you guys get back from Boulder County look like? Like, what does that tell you? Or does that vary?
Well, I mean, I would guess that it would probably have some comments, maybe on layout or trail connection or amenities. You know, I would assume they would give us feedback on what we've given them. And, then we would take that into consideration and create, make any revisions to the concept design.
Okay. So it triggers us it just gives us their comments, and we will then create a more comprehensive design. And then at that point, do we ever have to go back to them for the final permission? So I'm just trying to figure out what the steps are. So we get Boulder County's comments. We look at that. We start to say, okay, that makes sense. We start to kind of refine what we're looking for and what we think makes the most sense. So we're starting to get closer to a more final design. Do we have to go back to Boulder County for another
I'm
approval?
sure we
or?
would go back, just, to touch base that their feedback was addressed, or, what the thoughts, the dialogue back and forth. And I don't know if the group wants to consider, depending on what happens with the parcel that's adjacent, if that makes the timeline any different, or the group's thoughts about, waiting a little longer towards the end of the year, I don't know.
So at what point does it make sense to start doing public engagement? After we go back to Boulder County and say, have we addressed your concerns? Or do we start that before, when we get their initial concerns? Because now we have an idea of kind of what the parameters will look like.
I would definitely think it would be sometime after their feedback. I can flesh that out further with my team and see what everybody's thoughts are.
Because I imagine we'd want to do something large to the community, welcoming, like similar to what's going on with Pro Stack and the pickleball courts right now,
Mhm.
where we set up like an hour or so before the meeting, our regular meetings and have everyone come in and give their opinions.
Combine the naming process.
Yeah, no, it should all be part of the
Yeah.
same thing. So the naming process would be,
Agreed.
yeah, absolutely.
And maybe that could, all roll in together in a nice, some type of package like that.
Yeah. So the real question is when is the right time for us to start that? Is it going to be at the end of this calendar year? Is it going to be next calendar year? Do we start that?
And we don't have funding until next year.
Right. But
So-
I thought we had design funding. I thought there was some dollars for the concept plans.
There is design funding, but we've already used some of it for
Mhm.
concept design.
But the funding for next year is for full-blown construction, right? So for outreach purposes, that needs to happen
This year.
pretty far ahead of that.
Well, I mean, if you're thinking about pickleball, for example, if you're comparing that as the same year this year that outreach is occurring, that it's
Yeah, but that
has
pickleball,
funding for construction also.
I think we have to put pickleball up as an anomaly. I mean, that didn't go through the normal pro stack process. It's being rushed. You can hear frustration in the pro stack voices as this goes through, I think.
Well, I'll ask my team and see if there's like a specific date that, I mean, it's all gonna fall, dominoes will fall depending on when Boulder County replies. So when that happens, I guess that would be just the
That
next
could be the
step.
next trigger.
Well, and it's our number one ongoing item, so I think we just have to be ready to react.
To pounce on it.
When the dominoes do fall.
And
So-
that's kind of what happens a lot of times with the engagement process is there's not a huge forewarning of when it needs to be done.
Okay. So you guys are at the point that Boulder County's comments could come back at any day? Okay.
So one thing that was from our dinner with the board was the follow-up, I guess, with the developer about the access road, the frontage road. Was Matt going to reach out to I guess,
Yeah, I think that was the conclusion. that
Ranch
Matt,
Capital and
whenever he talks to those guys, to just keep reminding them, because it already happened once, I believe. And he came back and said, yeah, they were very open, to having that being an amenity. And then at the dinner, he said, well, things are changing so fast, who knows? But
Yeah.
I think it's up to him to just keep it in their ear that this trailhead could be a really nice amenity to that community, and having access to it would be a plus.
So if we're supposed to be coming up with a short-term solution, for instance, this right in, right out of the current driveway that's there now, that would require, I would assume, town funds to cut into the current road and the curb and all that.
I just don't. But remember, Patrick also said that we could use that fire road. So you wouldn't access it off of McCaslin. You would access it from original town
Oh, but-
temporarily.
Well, and it depends
temporarily.
on which of the concepts we go forward with. I mean, it's,
Yeah, the lower one versus the upper one.
yeah.
The lower one has more parking though, doesn't it?
It
And
would,
the
yeah.
group preferred the upper one,
And
if
I-
I recall correctly.
We did, and I think.
But I
that-
think it was due to the access. I think it was
That's-
mostly due to the safety concern of the access.
Which was one of the big concerns that was voiced.
But that's just a temporary thing, right? I mean, it's just temporary. If we get that frontage road, it won't matter. The frontage road will,
I just don't think the frontage road fits. I think we need to go look at that, but you think about that roundabout and people are hauling off of that, you're not gonna have a left turn, a stop sign and a left turn within 100 yards.
yeah,
I
I don't
just
know.
don't see how
I
it
don't know how
fits.
they're gonna lay that out.
I don't think a frontage road fits in there, cause it'd have to be pretty far down, loop back around.
They have to
It's
do
gonna
a
take up
dog leg
so much-
down and back around, yeah.
Yeah, it's a weird.
Well, and
It's
initially.
too high up.
I mean, one of the
as is.
concepts that we saw for Rogers Farm, they had, I can't remember if they called it commercial or whatnot, but they had it.
Yep.
They had a little bit, and then there was a roadway that had the commercial in between McCaslin and I guess the road/parking area. I mean, in that type of scenario, you could just continue forward, but
Mhm.
it depends what they kick back out. I mean, so Allison, did Boulder County just get the plan that we had liked the most, or did they get both concept plans?
I think that they got the plan that the group voted that they liked the most.
Okay. So I guess let's wait and see what we get from Boulder Boulder County.
And that was
Yeah.
pretty a while ago.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. So, once we get Boulder County stuff, we make this a priority and figure out our next steps.
So can I add one look ahead, or one open item? Any update on getting
Yes.
legal review of our open space document?
Just for those couple of items at the end.
Yeah.
I haven't had any.
So, are we still waiting on both the legal side and the planner side? What was it, Stephen, we were also waiting on?
It was finance.
Finance, not
Yeah, it was
planning. Right,
finance,
right,
yeah.
right. So we're still waiting on both of those? Would it be useful for us to email somebody to see if we can increase it in the priority list? We've been, I mean, we said
It's-
this wasn't a rush, but I think we said that back in December or November.
Yeah, it's been 4 months. I mean,
Yeah, we're getting about 6 months. If
Mhm.
I can ask, like, do a reminder, see.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally those two things.
It's
and then
those
we
two
can present
things,
it
and
the
then
final
we're-
to the board.
Yep.
I mean, the longer we wait, the less and less useful this is, because now we're getting more and more out of date.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll send them a reminder.
Okay.
And I had one more thing.
Yeah.
So, again, back to the dinner with the board. There was one point, there was some discussion about our involvement with the tree planting or replanting along the creek and our involvement with that. And I guess I
You know, and
would like to
there is
be.
a plan that was done by our ecologist. Remember when we took the walk? and
Yep.
We talked about the enhancement plantings and all that stuff? There was a plan already done by the environmentalist for the replanting of the creek, so.
Is that what they're gonna follow then?
Yeah, I think so, but that's what it's been all along. Remember, Mr. Hinkie, we took that walk with him?
We did the walk, yeah.
And there was a plan for all of the enhancements for, native plantings that would, take over from, non-native invasive species that were in that area, and that was part of the way that the project was passed through.
Yeah,
some
and,
of the stages. Do you have
and-
a concern?
I guess I had forgotten what the plan looked like, because I guess it would be nice to re-review that, just so it'd be nice to have that public record, that's all. Because, when you come down, you're like, oh my gosh, where'd all the trees go?
I think everyone.
Holy
well,
cow, and you look down, you see all these stumps, it's like they're Lorax. It's like, holy cow. And then it's like, well, where do we stand with the replanting, and where's it gonna go, and when's it gonna happen, and all that? And if people ask us, I'm like, I don't know.
Actually, that's a good point, because that might
I have
come
no
up
idea.
at Trails Day
Yeah,
also. We
I have
might
no
want to
clue.
be.
That's actually
We might want to
right
be
at
able to
those.
answer
And
those
we're-
questions.
I
at
just
Trail-
feel a little out of the
Trails
loop
Day.
right now with what's going on.
Do we have out on the website the actual approved plan for that Coal Creek redevelopment piece down there?
I don't-
Because if we don't, not only do you guys not know about
Yeah,
it, but
I
the
haven't
community
seen
doesn't. So
anything.
maybe that's something we could actually put out
Yeah, I haven't seen
on
anything.
the open space portion
Yeah.
of the website.
I think that's a good
Because
idea.
then, not only could you guys direct people to it and have
Yeah.
it available, but then we would also, obviously it's out on the board packets and stuff. But
Yeah.
it might be a good tool that you could use to communicate to the public about it.
Yeah.
I think that's useful, for sure.
I added something in here for National Trails Day. See if we can
Yeah.
button that up.
Okay. So Allison, maybe at our next meeting, we can pull up the plan, and just do a quick, like,
Gosh, I was like trying to remember, I think we even went over it and we might have it.
yeah, I was gonna say just like a quick 5 or 10 minute
Yeah,
refresher.
refresher, for sure.
And,
Yeah.
and if you want to, at National Trails Day, I'm pretty sure I probably have the big Mylars of it, because it would have been one of the I'm pretty sure it's one of the plans we reviewed since I've been on the board. If you want to borrow my copy of the big white Mylar, and have it that day, then you don't have to produce
Yeah.
another one, so.
That'd be great.
That'd be
um,
cool.
That'd be great.
I'm happy to
We'd
let
appreciate
you,
that.
you know, 'cause I got a whole lot of those.
I can only imagine.
But let me check, I'll check,
Okay.
either, you know, remind me, Ken, if I don't remember, and I'll check, and you guys are welcome to use it, because
That'd be great.
it would have the, you know, they're big, it's better than looking at little pieces of
Right,
paper.
right.
Yeah.
We like big.
Yeah,
And then Allison,
Me too.
maybe at the tail end of that, we can also just do a small, no worries. We could do a small, just description of what you guys do at the end with the, I guess, inspection of everything. Patrick had touched base on it a bit when we all went out on Saturday.
Lots and lots of plans.
Exactly. I mean, when Patrick was describing what you guys did when we were out on that tour, I was just kind of flabbergasted at exactly how that all works. So I think if we can relay that to the group, that would also be awesome. Get a little more awe and respect for the work you guys do.
And then, in terms of the trails, so one thing was the fact that it came up at the noon meeting, that Mayor Folsom had on Tuesday, was what's going on with the sidewalk that just ends after the rotary going, south, down McCaslin. And I did check with Patrick on that, and apparently they're gonna do that whole stretch, I think all the way up to Rock Creek Parkway all at once sometime this year, and is out for bid right now.
Oh, to be concrete on the west side?
On the
Wait,
west side.
Where to which part? I'm sorry, say it.
From
which-
the rotary going south on McCaslin on the west side, so you know. how-
Okay, yes,
if
yes,
when
yes,
we're
yes,
going
yes, yes,
back
yes, okay.
home.
it's
Yeah,
part of the
just stops.
McCaslin, they're supposed to
Improvements.
resurface
They're
McCaslin,
supposed to
and
resurface, and
it
then-
was part of that, we didn't allow them to do it last year, because
Okay.
they didn't get bids.
Oh.
They just used one, but it was part of the plan, was to complete that concrete sidewalk up there, so.
Because that's part of the Coal Creek Trail, and everyone keeps asking, when's that gonna get completed? Because
Yeah.
it just
But
ends.
that concrete is scheduled to be done as part of that
Yeah,
project, so.
that's what. and I
Sometime this
was-
summer.
Yeah, so I heard that was out to bid, so that's, we can tell people it's
So
coming.
There's that, and
And
then
maybe it'll
there's-
be
Track
on the
day.
way.
Well, then there's Track Day coming, and then there's also that
Right.
RTD line from the
Oh,
underpass
that's
in
right.
Louisville down to the
Oh, right.
bus station.
Yep,
So
those new
those are some
trails.
other good ones.
Yeah.
Has Track
Come on.
Day been approved for construction? The just connecting McCaslin to Tract H? I remember that had gotten brought up at some point, but I think that was part of the one that got rejected. I don't remember if I've seen it come up in any board meetings since.
I don't remember, but I don't.
I don't think it has yet.
Yeah, sorry.
I don't know.
Still full of Monday night.
I don't blame
You guys have so much to keep track of. When I come up with any of us come up with these.
Oh my God, track day, trucks.
Which tract is the Tesla, what's
That was Pond 11.
Pond 11? Okay.
It wasn't a track.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
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 You know, you add the ponds.
Yeah. Okay.
That's it.
All right. I've got nothing else.
I'm
so
good.
I think we're good. Meeting adjourned.
You got the gavel.
Thank you all.
Oh my God, it's not midnight.
You're welcome.
I told Allison, if you guys went to midnight, I was done.
You wanna get her, mic over there?
I think the longest one we've done, I think we hit 10 o'clock once or twice.
We did, when was that? When we were doing it?
Probably.